Podcast world, what up? We want to salute all our subscribers and give a special shout out to everybody else passing through. Y'all know me from the podcast life, relationships, and everything in between. I go by Kev, nothing more, nothing less.
All right, what's going on, podcast world? It's your boy Tyrone, the Tyerado. I just want to remind everybody, y'all can build your walls, but we digging ditches, we digging tunnels, and we making money up under you. You know what I mean? That's all I gotta say about that.
No change. All right, so we're a day behind. I want to get right into this because I got to have it done by Sunday night. So, what's first?
All right, well, you know, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about my boy Ben Carson. First of all, this is an African-American neurosurgeon who grew up from humble beginnings. I mean, he has a great story to tell, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
A lot of young black men, you know, growing, especially if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know, he published a book, he told a story, it was very inspiring.
Of course.
But his coonery is fucking up the goddamn game. I'm sorry to use that word, but there's no other word for it. For this man to, first of all, attack the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, which he did a couple years ago when he was running for president, and now just to come out of his pocket and be calling slaves immigrants.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That is just some fucked up bullshit. There's no excuse for it. You know what I mean? It literally, I shouldn't really be surprised. I mean, I am surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised, but calling slaves immigrants who came here for a better life, even though they was forced here, you know, unwillingly, but people don't even know. First of all, Africans were kings and queens, and they were richest in their own right. Maybe not richest in terms of what the Europeans considered to be rich, but they were rich in their own right. You know what I mean? You were not doing us any favors by dragging our black asses over to this damn country that you stole from other people.
Right.
So I don't want to hear the bullshit, you know what I mean?
And that defeats the meaning of the word immigrant. I mean, people use migrate because they're looking for a better life. You can't take someone and take their education and take everything they've learned and take all their resources and then say we were immigrants.
Exactly.
But
and the thing is too, and then he made it worse after he got dragged across the internet for that bullshit to say, oh, we were involuntary immigrants. Because what it made it seem like was that we were given a favor, oh my God, we saved your asses by bringing you over here. And no, you did not. You destroyed the African economy.
Right.
It is the way it is or has become because of slavery. You know, maybe it was a harsher environment. Maybe it wasn't the ideal European environment, but they were thriving and surviving. I mean, we birthed this world from Africa. You know what I mean? So they obviously was doing something right. This world is birthed from our people.
Right. Not only that, but black people are of the largest pool of inventors of things that make this country what it is anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm getting tired of black Republicans who speak like Ben Carson, who come from a place of, it's like they forget, you are us. You're one of us. Your ancestors were slaves as well. So because you're Republicans, because you've made it, because you're on the right, that you're absconded from some of the same painful history that we have.
Exactly.
We're all connected.
And then there's white people whose ancestors were probably black. You know what I mean? We don't even know what the tea is. You know what I mean? Whatever was passed down to you, you have to and this is why black history is so important, because it is, all of our history is American history. Right. And the reason why black history is so important, because our particular history has been rewritten, washed away, discarded, and other people want to, take it for, for granted. And the thing is, even when the movie La La Land that just came out, which was the biggest movie, it won all these Oscars and everything, was a jazz movie, which was a slap in the face because we're all the black people who invented this genre. It's like when you watch the Step Up movies from like the early 2000s about hip hop dancing, but yet 90% of the damn cast is Caucasian. And it's like, come on, get it together, America. Like, this is why everything is so fucked up. This is why so many people are angry. Everybody's fucking angry. Black people, white people, people need the truth. And this is what's going on.
That's always been a part of the construct, though, is to kind of take what's ours and put their name on it. I mean, we're seeing Trump try to do it right now with the Affordable Care Act. We're literally seeing him take this accomplishment that our first black president achieved and trying to turn it into their own. We're seeing it all the time.
It's heartbreaking, man. But, we can move on, I said my piece.
Something else in current events, and I just saw it this morning, and I just laughed to myself. So I was watching CNN this morning, and they did this thing where they were kind of like going over the first full month of Donald Trump's presidency, and they were really giving the impression that they were trying to credit him with the fact that there's been, I think, another 250,000 jobs added so far, and they're really trying to credit him with the unemployment rate dropping even farther than what it already was. And it's like, look, they showed a graph, and from 2008, unemployment was damn near 10%. I think it hit 10% at one point. They're not going to try and credit him at all with the fact that he's just now enjoying some of the fruits of the labor that was put in during the last administration, the last 8 years.
Exactly.
Like, this is just residual kind of effects of what the Obama administration already put into play. Trump gets no credit in my mind for this. But anyway, my news story that I wanted to touch on, and I have a specific reason for why. So I was following Chance the Rapper, who's a Chicago native. He's in this new class of rappers that I don't listen to. But I do respect and salute the fact that he took $1 million of his own money and donated it to Chicago public schools. Now, in the past few weeks and months, I've been coming down real hard on Chicago, saying that something needs to be done about the violence and the guns and gang culture. And it's true, it does. But I think Chance the Rapper has the idea that I think more people need to adopt. If you want to change a community of people, you need to do it at the ground level. And the best way to do that is to start with the youth so that they come up with a better chance and more hope. The government's not going to fix these issues. We have an incompetent Secretary of Education.
You'll have incompetent is not even the word, but go ahead.
We have an incompetent administration right now. And to be honest with you, this administration is going to be up to their eyeballs in lawsuits for the next 3.5 years anyway, dealing with just the fuckery that's been going on. We're not going to see education get anything. And it's happened that over the decades, and it's happened time and time again with each administration. Education is usually the last on the list, doesn't get the overhaul that it needs. And I've always said that education it's national security. I mean, you got to have the people who are going to be running this country in the future. We need to educate them, and our education infrastructure is terrible. And I think that it's incumbent on all of our celebrities, entertainers that we follow, spend our hard-earned money to listen to their music, see their movies, and whatever, go to their shows. These are the people who are in position to make change, and they're responsible, and I'm glad that Chance the Rapper is stepping up and doing this. And he's also taking his donations a step further and saying that if everyone else starts to get involved, for every $100,000 donated, he'll donate an additional $10,000 for every $100,000.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's excellent. I mean, he doesn't have to do half of what he's doing, but to already do what he did in donating $1 million, and then to say he's going to take it a step further really shows that he is definitely committed to, making the community that he comes from better. And I think we all should and need to do the same thing,
That's definitely 100% inspiring, because when a lot of people in the far right want to talk about inner cities, First of all, none of them in the far right grew up in these kind of communities, so I really don't know why they're even running their mouths and trying to speak for these communities. But the thing is, instead of just focusing on the problem, saying, oh, black people need to do this, black people need to do that, why don't you call Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, and stuff like that, let's get to the root of the problem. Like you were saying, education, because not every child is born into this world innocent. And if we can educate these children and we can bring them up in a better place and wanting more and deserving more, then they'll be much more better off. As a black man growing up in this generation, especially if you're from the inner cities, you don't have a lot of hope.
Right.
Absolutely. You really don't have a lot of hope, and you don't have a lot to really hold on to. So it's like, am I going to, bust my behind as a young black male growing up in the ghetto, working at McDonald's, being able to afford a basic education, but if somebody's going to offer me a lot of coins to where I'm going to be able to have the best of the best of the best, even if it's doing something illegal, sometimes, it's hard to resist. It's hard to resist. And gang violence and that whole kind of lifestyle has a heartbeat in this country, and it's not going to go away for a long, long time, unfortunately. That's not something you could just wipe away because it has a heartbeat, it has an infrastructure, it has a government, it has a police force, it has bosses, and it's a billion-dollar industry being in gangs, and
the problem is too, which I think most people don't understand, is that when these kids, because these kids are approached as early as 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, I was approached, you know what I'm saying? You was probably approached that young, you know what I mean? Like, we were all part of this, And
when these kids are approached to join these gangs, it's not from the standpoint of, let's just fuck shit up and be lawless and promote anarchy. They're approached from the standpoint of kids who don't have fathers in the home, don't have families, and they're approached as if it's like big brothers and like it's a family that they feel like they can belong to. So it's not like these kids are looking to just tear shit up. They're just looking to belong. And where you don't have the positive reinforcements, your YMCAs, your Boys and Girls Clubs, whatever after-school programs or whatever.
That are being cut left and right. Go ahead.
So where you don't have these positive things, something's going to fill that void. So we can't turn around and blame our youth for just looking for somewhere to belong, and they don't care if it's negative or positive, because to them, having somewhere to belong is positive when they have nothing. And then we look at it as they're just being criminals, they're just being negative. I mean, just a few days ago, the whole country was watching the Khalif Browder story, and we just saw how that whole thing played out.
Exactly.
And it just happens every day, unfortunately.
It really is, and it's human nature to want to belong, you know what I'm saying? Right. Even in the most primitive aspects of, even when you look in primate society, you know what I mean, and monkeys and gorillas and all that stuff, obviously they have 98% of our DNA, and they're very social creatures, and they depend on each other, and they roam in packs and stuff like that. So when you don't have that infrastructure, that family, you're going to seek it out, you know what I'm saying? And because that's part of who we are as human beings. But some of them, it even goes deeper. They just want to eat, you know what I mean? They want food.
Right.
They need to eat, you know what I mean? And that's how deep it goes for some people, And, and that's another thing when we talked about in our last podcast about public assistance. If people was living the large life on public assistance, like a lot of Republicans want to make it seem to be, gangs would not exist. Because anybody would rather collect a check from the government and sit their motherfucking asses in the house and not do a damn thing, including committing violence and robbing and doing all that crazy stuff. If the government is giving you those fat checks, you're not going to join a gang. Because what am I joining a gang for? They're paying all my bills.
It's like being in a relationship, and the government is the relationship, and these gangs and all this violence and these drugs and all that is the side chick. And when you're happy with what you have, you don't want to entertain anything peripheral. But when you're not happy with what you have, you're not being paid attention to, you're not being given any attention or any self-worth in your relationship, then you're going to cheat. And these kids are doing that. They've been crying out for help. Parents are crying out for help to give these kids alternatives, and they don't have it. And when you don't, this is what happens.
and just things with Planned Parenthood getting cut, and all of these cuts and all of these setbacks. That's not going to make the government has a responsibility to take care of the less fortunate. They have a responsibility because the people in these communities, they're not making the drugs, they're not making the guns, they're not doing this. You know what I'm saying? These people aren't doing this. It's being poured in, and the government is not protecting. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have access to drugs and guns unless somebody who's making big coins is actually providing it for you.
Right.
You know? I mean, we both grew up in the ghetto. Have you ever seen a drug manufacturing plant or a gun manufacturing? No. You know? Like, let's get it together. I mean, we're from Paterson, New Jersey, which is a very harsh environment to grow up in, and the current mayor now is being indicted and is going to get sent to prison. So, I know, and it's like, are you kidding me? This is why education is so important, because these children want to learn. They want a better life for themselves, but we're not giving them the alternative. So what Chance the Rapper is doing, he is setting the stage for a lot of people to step up their damn games. You know what I mean? You don't need another $1 million. You know what I mean? When you already have a lot. Give it away. Give it to people who can benefit from it. And education, again, is giving them the tools to make it on their own. It's not a handout. It's not a handout. Providing for education is never a handout.
And I'll even go so far as to say it's an investment. When these rappers, these entertainers, and when they start to do this and give back to these communities that they come from, all they're doing is creating the potential for these kids growing up in these communities to be educated and to acquire wealth themselves. And these are your fans. These are the consumers of your product.
Mm-hmm.
So you empower consumers and you give back to them. It's giving back to you in the long run tenfold.
Exactly. And also, and that's one of the things that the far right and conservative people, they're so pro-American, so pro-America, and this and that. But you don't want to invest in your own people. You want to say, yeah, I'm a pro-American. America's the greatest country. I love America. I love the people. But you want to just literally shit on the people that are less fortunate and don't want to build them up. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you want to take care of your own people? You want to pay billions of dollars to keep people out to build the damn wall. You know, you want to invest billions of dollars in a stronger military so you can fight everybody else. But you don't want to take any money and invest in your people. And that's what I don't get. You know, I feel like white America feel like now that they're under attack because they don't want the brown coming up. They don't want to blend. They want to keep their power. They want to keep everybody else down. And it's disgusting, you know what I mean? But that's why, like, it takes a community to protect their own, to take care of their own. And that's not, when I say their own, I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about people who are just less fortunate because white, black, and brown were all born into less fortunate situations. And the lower class and the middle class got to protect themselves because the elites are not here for you. The elites are not here for you. You know?
Okay, so all right, so that was the news story.
That was a news story.
If you don't have anything else before we get into our main topic, which I think is a good one that I've been looking forward to for a while.
I am about to drag our community into the motherfucking gutter. I am dragging. Listen, I'm an equal opportunist, and I'm dragging our people because I am so over.
Get into this, right? Is there anything else we want to touch on?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So what? All right. So for everybody, right? What is today's topic?
Today's topic we're going to discuss is the N-word. And before we get into that really, really quick, I just want everybody to listen. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share it, follow us on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, like across all, media. You know what I mean? We're definitely going to keep following up on all of our stories. So definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, we're officially on Twitter now. Twitter and Facebook. It's at Straight Talk 315. At Straight Talk 315, Facebook and Twitter. Also Instagram as well. And look, as far as what Ty was saying with the YouTube, this is definitely an episode that I want comments, comments, because this topic. I don't even think he said it yet, but has been a center of controversy for hundreds of years.
Generations, man.
So,
definitely.
What is it?
The N-word. The N-word. And I'm not even going to say that word because...
multi-purpose. It's just...
Yeah.
All right. You go first.
Do you want to start? Do you want me to start? Cause
Okay. Let me see. I'll go first. Only because... All right. I can see where you're going with this. I kind of have a dual opinion about this topic.
Okay.
For anybody who's been living under a rock on Mars for the past 500 years, you don't have a clue what we're talking about. So the N-word was turned into a derogatory term, basically used to belittle, demean black people, kind of make us feel like less of, human beings, because at one point in this country's history, we were considered only 3/5 of a person. And look, before we even get into it, we're not trying to claim, arbitrary control over derogatory terms, because we're not the only group of people who have had derogatory terms or slurs thrown out.
Preach on
our community, so this is what we're talking about, because it's what hits home for us. Now look, I fully understand the hip-hop community. I fully understand the generation from about the 70s. I don't know if it goes back farther than that. If it does, I don't know. But definitely from the 70s, we see it in old movies and up till now. This kind of angle of taking the term and trying to flip it on its ear, so to speak, and turning it into a term of endearment. And we've heard countless numbers of celebrities. I'm not going to name any names, but we've heard countless number of celebrities justify it by saying, look, we're just taking something that was a negative and we're stripping that word of its power. And yes, we don't define words. We don't give them power. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
People have died over this word being used. People were treated like nothing and referred to as if they didn't even have a name.
Yeah.
So when the older generation, the people who were involved in our past and civil rights movements, and who marched with Dr. King, and who heard Malcolm X speak, and who know about Emmett Till and Medgar Evers, and all these people who died, in the movement and struggled, people who protested, Muhammad Ali's and all just Al Sharpton, everybody that we know now from back then, they get so upset that young people throw out this term and they use it with their brothers, their sisters, their friends, their enemies, whoever. My biggest issue is, because I can understand both sides. I know that, being a millennial, we as a younger generation, we love to try to make something new. We love to try to take something and make it mean something else. We've been doing it for years. I mean, there was a time when saying something was bad meant it was good. Like, you know what I mean? And saying something is dope, and that's a drug. And so I understand the slang and the Ebonics.
It's like L. Cool J said, bad meaning bad, not bad meaning good.
So I understand all that fully. What I guess, if I had to totally criticize something, is where in your mind, Ty, does it come into play where it's okay for, let's say, Black and Hispanics to use the term back and forth with each other, but where does it come into play where we have, these young Caucasian kids who also grow up in these urban environments and these communities that are, impoverished, but they can't, some of them now are starting to do it. But of course, we came up in a time where if you were white, it wasn't allowed, and there were so many different rules about this word. I just really, I have a really rounded perspective. I want to incorporate everybody's, like the older generation, the younger generation, the hip hop generation, the kind of, the old school kind of way of looking at it, like it's just bad and don't use it. I can see all sides. What's your perspective?
I can see it from so many different angles. I mean, obviously the hip-hop community is 100% responsible for spreading this word around the globe. You know what I mean? And if 90% of consumers of hip-hop are Caucasian, you can't sell them this word and then tell them that they can't use it, okay? But with that being said, no, I don't think white people should use that word because you know what? We don't live in a fair universe. It's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, when I have white people ask, oh, why can, black people say it, but white people can't? And my first response is always, why do you even want to say that word? Why do you want to say something? Even though the new term is not necessarily a negative connotation, why do you want to add something like that to your vocabulary in the first place? If I'm a white American, I don't want to say that word. I have no desire to, and I don't care. But the fact that you're going to be persecuted for using it as somebody who's not black, that's, in my terms, fair, only because being black in this country isn't necessarily fair. We're not treated equal. So if we have one tiny little leg up, it balances out the universe a little bit. I mean, it really doesn't, but at the same time, it's like, don't come at me saying that we live in a society where black people are still discriminated against, but then you just want to take the one little thing that we have and say, okay, well, let me take that right from you, let me take that word from you and use it as my own. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really right, Right. But then I'll also say to them, if you want to use the word, then use it. And they'll say, well, people are going to think I'm racist. Well, why are you so afraid of being called a racist? If that word means so much to you that you need to add it into your daily vocabulary, then deal with the damn consequences.
Let me be clear, white America. Let me be clear, young white kids who want to be in. Let me be very clear. If you're going to use the term in your social circles where it's, permittable or allowable for you to do so, make sure you use the proper derivative. I don't want you guys going around calling people niggers and getting fucked up because people take what you said the wrong way. If you're going to use it, at least, in a kind of the spirit of hip-hop or the spirit of, that whole kind of unity thing, then at least use the proper derivative. Drop the PR. At least. I'm not promoting the use of it. I am definitely guilty in the past of my use of using it. I don't really use it at all anymore. And I notice that as I get older, I say it less and less. And that's probably mainly because I associate with professionals, and I'm mostly in professional circles and professional environments. So obviously I wouldn't use those types of terms. Yeah. I don't really associate with people who are under a certain age, and for the most part, I don't really hear that many people my age in the types of circles that I'm exposed to in my life at 33 with that term being used. But I will say this, though. I don't like how the culture of hip-hop is blamed for so many of what is looked at as negative in our communities. Because when we talk about the N-word, if we're going to blame rappers, then we also have to blame movie producers and these big companies that produce movies. Because, you can pull up movies from the late 60s, early 70s, and all through, even before rap started officially, where the term was being used.
Yeah. In movies, because I think that word was a common vernacular within the African American community for a while, and then once our culture became more mainstream, I think that's when we had to decide, okay, we need to police this, because you can't sell white people movies and music and then and have that being a constant figure in it, and then say, okay, well, you could buy my music, and you can listen to this and you can listen to that, but you can't say that word, you know what I mean? Because these younger kids who are growing up now, they're growing up in a less, and thank God for that, they're growing up in a less racist society. So it doesn't have the same power to them. I even heard an interview with Azalea Banks, who she's in her early 20s. She said she don't even care if her white friends use that word.
Right.
She doesn't even care, but
well, we're definitely seeing it more and more.
It's a dated word to me right now in 2017. It's like referring to a black person as colored or Negro or calling the Asian person Oriental. It's just such a dated term, and I feel like sometimes in white culture, they pick up on things that we've already buried You know what I mean? And start adapting it as their own. You know what I mean? I remember when I was in college, when you know how we wear fitted caps, but we wouldn't curl it, and it was just flat. Right. And I remember like the white kids in my school saying, "Why don't you curl your hat? Like, why do you still have like the little tag on it and stuff like that?" And now everybody does it. I mean, I literally watched a documentary with neo-Nazis who had flatted fit caps. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, as our community, we have to understand we are spreading it. You know. So even as much as I say, I don't feel like people should use it. It's I don't know, like I'm so torn with this because I'm saying people shouldn't use it, but I also know that our culture is always being adapted.
Right.
It's in a way. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I think I'm conflicted too, and I think most people, you know, coming up how in environments like we came up would be conflicted because I'm all for, as a means of survival, you tend to take things that are used to tear you down and strip the power from it. So I'm all for that. And when Jay-Z did his interview on the Oprah show some years back, and they were basically talking about it, and Oprah's publicly known for, you know, disagreeing with rappers and they're justifying the word and why it's used. And I definitely think that it's a logical explanation of why, you know, it's used in our environments and our communities. I agree with it. I just see it from both sides. Me personally, though, I don't like, and I don't even think it's so much the word itself. I just don't typically like to speak to people who aren't articulate enough to be able to speak to me without using most forms of ebonics and slang. I've always been, you know, a proper speaker even from a young age. So I mean,
I don't think any grown person should have that word in their vocabulary, but at the same time, we still listen to music where grown people using it all the time. But like my white friends, like they'll say words like hillbilly and redneck and white trash, stuff like that, and I don't use that term at all. I would never ever call somebody white trash. I would never call a Hispanic person a spick or a wetback or use those kind of like terminologies. Like I would never do that. Because I do think coming from, you know, if you're a black person, you can't call a white person white trash. That's racist. That's a racist term coming from somebody else. But I hear my white friends calling, you know, other people like that all the time, you know. And that's another thing that I would say to when people ask me, well, why can't I use that? Well, the same reason why I would never say white trash or redneck or hillbilly or something like that. Right. You know what I mean?
I do understand the difference between, because there is a slight difference between using certain verbiage and treating a person as if they are that. Like, I can understand for the sake of plain conversation just on the surface, you know, you're talking to someone, it is what it is. Like, I won't jump on someone for saying the word, you know, around my presence, but don't treat me as if that's what I am.
Exactly.
I guess that would be where I would draw the line.
Yeah. But, It's. I think our generation has the hardest time with it because I think maybe in the 70s and 80s, white people just didn't say it. They just didn't say it. It wasn't part of their culture. It wasn't part of their everyday language. Black culture wasn't mainstream enough for them to be hearing that word so often.
But then again, too, you know, Ty, not to cut you off, but then again, maybe it is a good thing that this word has hit Middle America because, you know, what more than for the grandparents and the parents of these kids who, you know, might have been on the opposite side of the civil rights movement back in the 60s, you know, who then had kids who, you know, they weren't in the position, you know, anymore to be, you know, in like upper class America, and then now they have to come down to these communities where there is a sort of like a romanticized look at like, you know, living in impoverished areas and in ghettos and you know, in these inner cities where these kids want to have a look inside and they start listening to Eminem and all these rappers and kind of like now their parents have to deal with, you know, these kids who want to associate with us, be like us, be like the people that we idolize, you know, in certain ways. I also think it's an ironic kind of like stab in the face of, you know, these parents who a lot of them were racist because, racism is taught. It's not something that you're born, on one side or the other of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in that way, it might have been somewhat of a good thing for these parents to have to deal with that. It's hard to teach your kids to be racist against a certain group of people when they're trying to emulate us.
And crazy. I agree. And when we're talking about the ER version of this word, it's like, I am unfortunately not ready. I don't think I ever will be ready to take power away from that word. I think if I'm called that to my face, that's really a call for a beatdown. It won't ever be the turn the other cheek type situation.
No, not at all.
And if, somebody who's not black, I mean, even if somebody who is black calls me that, like, I'm going to correct you. No, you're not. Even the A version of the word, the NIGTA version of the word, no one's calling me that. I'm not your, so and so forth. I'm not yours. That, you know what I mean? You're just not going to refer to me as that. Black, white, whatever. We're not doing that. I'm not here for that. I don't care if you're 11. I don't care if you're 30. I'm not here for that. Do not refer to me as that. Like, I would never walk up to a female and be like, oh, what's up, my bitch? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that. We're not in that space. I'm never in that space with anybody. I'm never comfortable with anybody like that. You call me it, and as a racial slur, you're getting fucked up. Plain and simple, end of the day.
And I think we have a hard enough time dealing with people and interactions where we feel like they want to say it but won't. So for you to have the audacity to say it, it's pretty much on sight. Because as professional as I try to be, and as evolved as I would like to think of myself as being, I'm still from the ghetto at the end of the day. I'm still from, that type of environment where I will easily take it back to that if I feel disrespected. Don't disrespect me, and I won't disrespect you.
Don't do it, and I tell people don't do it. And I believe in political correctness, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump, they're like, oh, we're tired of political correctness and stuff like that. Now, I posted, because that's what Republicans are at right now. They're like, oh, we're tired of political correctness and blah, 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 which basically says to me, I want to be able to call whoever I want, whatever I want. And I posted a comment about Stacey Dash last year, and I used the CUNT word because, sorry, that's what she is to me. And I have Republicans posting on my page, oh, you shouldn't use that word, you shouldn't call her that. I was like, don't come for me, okay, because you don't want to live in a politically correct society, so you can't have it both ways.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to come from my language and then sit up there and say, oh, I'm voting for Trump because he's not politically correct and this, that, and the other. But then you want to try to come from my language when I use a word that makes you uncomfortable. You can't have it both ways. So, and that opens the floodgates. And it's unfortunate because nobody is going to win on this issue. Nobody's going to win on this issue because everybody is going to get offended by something. And
at the same time, too, I think we do need to keep in mind, this is a very angled thing. It's really aimed at certain groups.
It is, of course it is.
We like Trump because he's not politically correct and he's unfiltered. Well, let's really be clear. There is still a net there that remains because I guarantee you, if on his campaign trail, if we would have ever heard Trump utter a racial slur toward Jewish people, his campaign would have been effectively shut down, and he would not be our president. See, they know who they can mess with and who they can't. And when it comes to the Jewish community, they have done such a good job at pulling together, pooling their resources, and anything that they disagree with that goes against, them and their community, they almost get it stricken from history.
Yeah.
But it's only blacks, Hispanics, it's only other minorities who have not seemed to find a way to be able to take back that same power. Nobody out here talking crazy about Jewish people, and when they do, they immediately apologize.
Exactly. Because because what happens with when you're a minority, a non-Jewish minority, and you get offended and you claim racism, people want to say, oh, don't pull the race card, this, that, and the other, but you don't want to be called anti-Semitic. Do not want to be called anti-Semitic. You know what I mean? Like, that is just a more uglier word than being racist. Because a lot of people want to accuse minorities of being too sensitive and stuff like that. And, like, not everything is racist, not everything is racism, blah, blah, blah. But anti-Semitic is damn it anti-Semitic, and nobody's coming for that,
No, nobody wants to touch it. And it's interesting to me how when black people talk about slavery, when black people talk about racism and all these things, we're accused of perpetuating reverse racism.
Mm-hmm.
But if a Jewish person talks about the Holocaust, nobody would dare say that they're drudging up the past and let it go. It's interesting how a different group, but with the same type of pain in their past and the same type of history of being, exterminated or attempted to be exterminated from the planet. It's funny how we're looked at one way when we talk about it, as if we need to let it go, but they're not. It's celebrated, and it's kind of like they get their just due.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting too, especially in America, because America is not even responsible for the Holocaust. No. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't even take place here.
So they'll be apologetic of that, but will refuse to be apologetic of slavery when it happened here. It wasn't the system that did it.
Yeah. I guess in closing, we got to just admit that we're not ready to take power away from that word.
But let us know definitely, though, what you guys think.
Yeah, let us know what you think. You know what I mean? If you feel like you want to use that word, then use it. But listen, there's repercussions. Freedom ain't free.
Right.
Sorry. Freedom of speech ain't free either. And
I want to take this time, too, real quick before we get into our other stuff. There's a lot of content that I upload, not just with the podcast, but with my YouTube channel and various other social media platforms. And, I get comments, and I definitely get back and forth, with different people from different walks of life. I just want to make one thing clear, though, to everybody. I definitely welcome comments. I have no problem with people challenging my premise on whatever. Just understand, though, that if your comments are just from the standpoint of being negative, just because you just want to be negative, like I don't know who the person was that commented on your comment on one of my Facebook videos the other day, Tyrone. He was basically trying to say that the last administration didn't care about black people, and he was trying to insinuate that this administration cares more about black people because they're trying to stop crime. Stuff like that's not even intelligently articulated. It doesn't warrant a response, and I know Ty didn't respond, but if y'all come at me with that, I'm going to shut you down. I'm just letting y'all know right now because I'm here for it. And
I will drag a troll into the gates of hell, you know what I mean? Like, let's get it together, you know what I mean? Like, just be clear, like, when we introduced this podcast, we said it is not for the faint of heart, it is not for everybody, and we are going to get down in the gutter if we got to. You know what I mean? Like, shit, sometimes you got to fight fire with fire. Let's get into it, but let's also be respectable. You know what I mean? But if you're not going to respect me, you're not going to get respect back. That's just not going to happen.
Disagree, but be respectful.
Yeah.
We don't have to be, disrespectfully disagreeable. That's unnecessary.
And this is actually a great intro into our outro segment, but I think we're going to do the hot seat first, right?
Yeah, so let's do the hot seat.
All right, let's do the hot seat first. Cause it would have been a perfect segue, but I'll get into that after the hot seat. All right, go ahead. Do your thing.
I got a double header for today. A double header for today's hot seat. Okay, look. So first of all, seat number 1, Donald Trump. All right, so this dude, and I was just watching RT, and they've been following the story pretty closely. So Donald Trump decided to accuse President Obama of wiretapping his Trump Towers, where he has his residence. Every single analyst, investigator, every single person that they've interviewed, from CNN to MSNBC to Fox, nobody can find any evidence of this having happened. But Donald Trump is swearing up and down that he was wiretapped. This dude, in my opinion, now is just aiming at doing. I think his sole mission statement for this for this term is to kill Barack Obama's legacy. I mean,
of course,
of his legacy. And for the people on the right who can't see it, who really think that he's trying to do something to make this country great again, and they don't see what he's doing to try to undermine the last 8 years that saved not only our asses, but you guys as well. I mean, there's countless number of people who are talking about losing their health care and people fighting cancer and how their medications aren't going to be covered. And there's insurance companies pulling out of the exchange that Obama set up because they just see what's coming down the line. And this guy is just, he doesn't have a political bone in his body, but I just think he's resorting now to just hiding out from behind his smartphone on Twitter and just talking shit at this point. So that's why I put him in the hot seat.
On the previous administration in order to be successful. And now we the people, when Obama was first elected, we shit on the previous administration, on the Bush administration, for putting us in so much debt for 2 unnecessary wars like we did. Obama didn't.
Though. It was politically based.
Yeah, but Obama didn't. Obama wasn't, like, whatever his shortcomings may have been, never have I, and correct me people out there if I'm wrong, but never have I ever heard him blame George Bush. You know what I'm saying? Get in there, Donald Trump, do your damn job that the people elected you for, and move forward. Like, stop focusing on, Obama has 0 fucks to give.
Yeah,
like, let's keep it real.
I think you're right, and I think
this man is out there snowboarding and snorkeling and jumping. I don't know what the hell he's doing. You know what I mean? But he's not giving 0 fucks about Donald Trump. He has given 8 years to this country. He did his job. He won both of his elections. He kept us above water. You know what I mean? Even though even George damn Bush, who was before Obama, has no fucks to give about Donald Trump either, and is destroying him in the media while he's promoting his paintings or his books or whatever the fuck he's doing. It's like, get it together, get it in, do your fucking job. You know what I mean? Like, hello.
Obama effectively kept us from going into another Great Depression. I mean, let's be real.
He did.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I don't think I've ever heard him really speak negatively on anyone like that, and I think that might have been a lot of black people's issue with him, was that he was too much the presidential type of person, and too much of somebody willing to take the high road. I think that was a lot of criticism that he got, was that he never stooped down to anybody's level, and some people would have liked this. I've seen him get a little more dirty. Well,
just like Michelle Obama said, bitch, when they go low, we go high. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do it.
Very diplomatic.
Extreme, and to me, that is a necessary quality of a president, and Donald Trump lacks that, and I think he is going to forever tarnish what it means to be a president in this country, because now it's going to make it easier for the next president to be ratchet, and the president after that is going to be more ratchet, and the president after that is going to be more ratchet, because now we're electing celebrities. You know?
Pretty much.
That's what we're electing. We're electing celebrities. You know, we're not electing people who are qualified, you know. So your hot seat number 2, you said you got 2?
Yeah, this is on a little more serious note, and this is, you might appreciate this, because this is victim blaming, and I don't condone victim blaming. I don't think there's a place for it, and it's very asinine, this next person that's on this hot seat. So this is actually a Canadian federal judge. His name is Robin Camp. He actually stepped down before Canada's Parliament in front of them moving to actually remove him from the bench. Why? Because during a rape trial, he actually told a woman who was the alleged victim of that rape, why couldn't she forcibly keep her knees closed while she was attempting to be raped? Why couldn't she skew her pelvis to avoid penetration? This is a judge, a federal judge, who actually said this to a victim on record during a trial.
Oh my God.
And obviously they weren't having it, and, it was recommended that he be removed because they did an investigation into some of his prior cases and found previous cases where he made ridiculous statements. And he basically was like, I don't want to be removed. I'm up for being, seeking, someone to talk to or counsel or whatever, or trying to be rehabilitated. And they were like, nah, we can't have someone who supposed to be a judge and be impartial and be about the law. We can't have somebody speaking like this, basically. So he stepped down. They were going to remove him anyway, so he stepped down ahead of it. And they were saying that a lot of the other judges kind of in that in Canada, who I guess worked with him. They were his colleagues. They were saying that they felt like he should have been sanctioned, maybe fined, but they didn't agree with the fact that they were moving to remove him. I don't think he should be on the bench. I don't want any judge on the bench who would make statements like that when they're sitting over a case, where somebody was violated. So he's on the hot seat.
Yeah, man, you just set the damn hot seat on fire. I mean, again, I mean, it's another situation where a minority group as women are being targeted and their feelings aren't being matched with what society is supposed to hold. As a judge, you are held to a high standard. Absolutely. And there's no excuses. There's no second chances. The second that you do something that messed up, yeah, you need to lose your job. I'm sorry, you don't work at the same level as the regular people. You know what I'm saying? I may not lose my job making a derogatory comment about a woman. I mean, if I was actually in my workplace. But when you want to enter that kind of field, you know what's right and or you're supposed to know what's right and what's wrong and what you can say and you can't say. When you choose not to do that, yes, you should absolutely be removed, because these are lessons that you should have learned long before you got into that place. You don't get to get into that place and then say, oh, well, I'm going to go to counseling and therapy. No, you should have known this already.
And that was an excuse he actually tried to use. He tried to retort by saying, oh, well, I don't really have training with these types of cases. I typically sit over bankruptcies and things like that. Well, then you should have recused yourself. That's no excuse, because there are jobs that are just occupations. You go to, you clock in, you get paid, you leave. But then there are careers that are more of a life calling. You can't be a teacher if you're not interested in teaching children or teaching
exactly.
You can't be a police officer if you're not for holding up the law wherever the law is violated and not picking and choosing. You can't be a judge if you're impartial and if you're just an idiot and you make asinine statements. So
yeah, I mean, and it boils down to common human decency.
Right.
Like, his comment has nothing to do with his ability as a judge or him not knowing that that's how he was supposed to judge the situation. That you are just a low-life human being for your comments, first and foremost.
Further, too. We live in a time period where, unfortunately, suicide is very high. People are committing suicide at an increasing rate, and it's the highest it's ever been. And it's already a natural inclination, and I don't pretend to ever know what it's like to be raped or anything or try to put myself in a woman's shoes, but to say something like that to a woman who's already been violated and already probably feels like, because sometimes when you're victimized, you have a tendency to feel like, did I do something wrong? Is it my fault? You take a person who's already in that vulnerable state and you exacerbate that by saying, well, you couldn't keep your knees together. It's just retarded. Now, if this woman goes and kills herself, God forbid, this is on this guy's head for making that crazy statement.
And the worst part about it is that somebody who you're supposed to respect, there's a lot of times, I mean, I'm a victim of sexual assault, and the thing is, you do sometimes blame yourself.
Right.
So you can't have somebody who's in a position of power who you are supposed to respect add fuel to that fire. You know what I'm saying? Because, a lot of sexual assault victims do blame themselves and do think, oh, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, this could have been avoided. But it's never their fault. Right. It's never your fault when you are a victim of sexual assault. Nobody has the right to do that to you. You know what I mean? And, God bless this woman, and I just hope this gives her, makes her feel more comfortable, makes her feel like, justice was done and that this judge can't get away with that. But unfortunately, if he's done this in the past, who's to say that these women or men or whoever didn't recover from it because of what he's saying? Because he has the potential to make it worse for people.
And that's why I'm glad they removed him or forced him to step down, and that's why I decided to mention that over some other fuck shit, because we could have a million people in the hot seat on any given show. But because of the day and age that we live in, because of how technology is so far-reaching, and our podcast is available worldwide on iTunes, everywhere.
Subscribe, people.
Anybody can see and hear what we're talking about. So I try to pick things that it's not just for Americans or because this happened in Canada. It's not just for Americans or, it's for everybody worldwide because the only thing that separates us are borders, oceans, and language. Other than that, we all deal with the same shit every day.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was some world news for your ass.
What else?
All right, listen, man, we got to talk about, listen, we're winding down, you know what I'm saying, that the podcast is almost coming to an end, but again, don't forget, like this podcast, listen, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. My personal email, if you want to get at me, is tyronedesperado@gmail.com. Kevin, what's your email?
Any comments or anything, if you have an idea for a topic of a show, or if you want to be a part of a show, hit us up at the podcast email, which is straight talk, all one word, straighttalk315@gmail.com. Other than that, y'all know the YouTube channel. Y'all can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at a theater near you, and let me know what y'all think.
All right, no doubt. All right, so let's get into this rap beef. It's it has some ebbs and flows over the past week or so, you know what I mean, with Remy Ma coming at Miss Nicki Minaj, and my whole thing as rappers, how do I come at this? All right, first of all, Nicki Minaj could drag Remy Ma, saggy ass across the motherfucking United States and back and forth.
Hold on, people who don't know what we're talking about.
They know what we're talking about.
I know. There's somebody who's listening to country music somewhere who are like, what? What we're talking about is Remy Ma released a diss track called Sheether, which I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, Kevin is always more eloquent than I am. I'm the ratchet one.
7 minutes of basically just going in at Nicki. And I'm not going to say it was undeserving because Nicki was throwing her little shots here and there on two records that were released prior to that. But go ahead, Ty. I just wanted to let people know what we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying Nicki Minaj can drag this bitch across the motherfucking United States, into the oceans, across the moon, into the universe, burn her ass on the motherfucking sun. Like, she has the ability because we heard Nicki Minaj drag Lil' Kim in Roman's Revenge, which she really kind of destroyed her. Destroyed her whole career. Didn't destroy her legacy because Lil' Kim is little motherfucking Kim. Like, I love her to the moon and back. What Remy Ma did was completely disastrous. It was so unoriginal. She completely took... What Remy Ma did was basically took a song called Easter, which Nas made against Jay-Z, and she basically took his words out and put her words in, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, she dragged Nicki. I mean, she really came for her throat, but she didn't have her own flow. It was not original. She completely stole the beat, and stealing beats for a diss track is not nothing new, but you don't steal the beat and the damn flow. You know what I'm saying? You don't do both. You know what I mean?
She stole the name. All she did was... It said Ether clearly, and all she did was put a SH on the front of it. That's all she did. Even on the little cover art, when the song came out on YouTube, the little cover art, all you see is a little S and the H scribbled in blood. But here's my problem. So 7 minutes of what people are calling, there are really people calling this the best, if not one of the best, diss tracks of all time.
No.
You're retarded. You're retarded. Remy Ma has, in my opinion, been overrated since she came out back in the early 2000s. I didn't like her as a battle.
Remy Ma is not even rated. She's not even rated. She's not.
People think that she's the best female rapper out. And my problem with Remy is I haven't liked her since she started in her battle rap days. She couldn't even win battles back then. But I mean, I don't like her flow. It sounds like she's nursery rhyming, but like she's drunk. She's lazy. Her flow is not even on beat. If you listen to a lot of her songs, she's not really on beat or in the right pocket. She doesn't have good cadence. She doesn't have a good flow. She doesn't have any type of enthusiasm. And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that she was saying, it would look hard on paper or if you were having a vocal argument with somebody. But as far as a rap song, my opinion of what a good diss track is a song that, one, it has like
replayability. Like, you can keep playing it and it sounds good. It doesn't
exactly.
sound good to me. It really doesn't. It's just like she lazily talked her way through all of the stuff that she was talking.
It is, and that's why she couldn't remember the damn lyrics when she had to perform it two or 3 days later. You know what I mean? It was awful. It was absolutely
the song anymore. The song's being ripped from everything because it's not hers. She took Nas's name, his fucking beat, everything. He fucking shut the song down.
And that's so ironic because she tried to say in that song how Nicki Minaj's money has to go through 5 different people before she gets a cut. But yet you got 0 cuts for this track. As a matter of fact, you promoted it and then it got shut down, and then you wanted to come back with an apology saying, "Oh, I want to work with her." No, ma'am. And you don't apologize ever in the rap community. That just not happen. You could break bread and move on. But no, but trying to say, oh, you know, I don't want to beat this and other women and this, that, and the other.
Well, the kind of theory going now is, I heard that. The theory going now is she only kind of did that to try to save face because she knew that she couldn't play the song anymore.
Exactly.
So it's being said that, it's being speculated that she said that because she knew she couldn't play the song. So as a graceful way to try to make it seem like she was going to be done with it. The only thing I think where Nicki violated is in the hip hop culture. I mean, having rap beef and wanting to see who's better than who. That's like the foundation of what rap was when it started, right? I mean, if we go through all the classic battles over the years, and I guess Nicki's only violation was she didn't respond to Conchita the way she should have. And even when she did, finally, almost 2 weeks later, it wasn't even really a song. It was kind of like a little verse on a song.
Yeah.
But I think if Nicki really wanted to, Remy can't even stay in the same booth with her. Like, she can't. I mean, Nicki has just ridiculous cadence, ridiculous, like, different flows. She can rap to any beat. She's way more talented. People were calling Remy lyrical. I think it sounds stupid because there's nothing lyrical about her to me. Her bars
it's not. First of all, her flows is exactly like Papooses' flows, her husband. It sounds exactly the same, and it reminds me of when Lil' Kim first came out, and her flows was exactly like Biggie's. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just tell that Biggie wrote. Yeah, exactly, and you could tell Biggie wrote her rhymes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is why, you know, since, you know, the Biggie departed, Lil' Kim, you know, flourished for a little bit longer, but then she kind of died out. Who don't want to work with Lil' Kim? Who don't want to cut a record with Lil' Kim, especially in the 2000s when she was on and popping? She died out because she had somebody writing her lyrics. I mean, point blank, end of story. And Remy Ma, to me, like, she's not rated. She's not in the upper echelon of female rappers. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a memorable album. I mean, Rod Digger's first album, sickening. Foxy Brown's album, sickening. Lil' Kim's album, sickening. Queen Latifah, MC Lyte. I could go on and on and on.
Oh, people like
Nicki Minaj.
You talk about MC Lyte, Foxy Brown. Look, Foxy Brown's a legend. These are legends. You cannot mention a Remy Ma and the names of in the same sentence with these people. And for the people who were like, oh, Foxy Brown should have just kept her mouth shut, she shouldn't have responded. Look, Foxy Brown's a legend. She's responsible for somebody was like, oh, she shouldn't have even touched the takeover beat.
Oh, please.
Look, if you were born after 1998, shut up, because Foxy Brown is responsible. She's the one who first blew Jay up. So if anybody's authorized to use one of his beats, it would be her.
First and foremost, Il Nana is one of the best hip-hop albums, period. It's up there. It's in my top 5.
We go back to set days.
Il Nana is literally one of the best hip-hop albums, period. I'm not even talking about just female rappers. I mean, she's up there with Wu-Tang, A Tribe Called Quest, Jay-Z earlier stuff, Nas earlier stuff, Mobb Deep earlier stuff. But people who are trying to put Sheether on a battle rap list, sis, you need to have several seats. First of all, the best battle rap ever was Big L. When Big L came out and destroyed literally every single body in the motherfucking community of hip-hop, and nobody clapped back, that's when you know nobody clapped back at Big L when he came and destroyed everybody in the damn industry. You know what I mean? So let's get it together. Like, are you kidding me? She's not in the top 50 of raps, battle raps. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll be honest with you. I'll be all the way honest with you. Remy Ma's not even better than Young M.A.
Hell no.
But
hell no, not even.
I know it's over, but I just wanted to talk about it.
It's we had to drop knowledge on this stuff.
I got a beef too though. It's funny how this thing has been going on for 2 weeks maybe, right? It's funny how we call that old now, because people who were saying, oh, if Nicki Minaj don't respond within 48 hours or within the first week, let's not forget, Takeover was out for months before Nas dropped Ether. Months. This whole new generation, new kind of microwave society where it has to be right now. Look, Nicki should have played her cards differently and waited until her album came out and do it on the album.
Yeah. Well, what people don't understand is Remy Ma is not really doing big things, so she don't really have a job right now, except being on Love and Hip Hop, so she has the time, to do this. Nicki Minaj was in Paris when this shit was released, doing the most, you know what I mean? So it's like, come on, like, people got jobs. They don't really got time to be right. And she can't clap back at everybody who's going to come for her, because Azalea Banks came for her. And it's like, I'm not coming for nobody who's not on my level. You know what I'm saying? If I'm sitting up there, I'm on the top, and you in 100, if you're gonna clap at me, I'm not giving you a name. I'm not bringing your name up. I'm not trying to bring you up to my level and have you try to match my numbers. No.
Hey, look,
absolutely not. Like,
the biggest thing too that I disagree with is, look, I'm a proponent of, when you're a fan of somebody and you rock with them, then rock with them. If they take an L, take it with them. Everybody who's jumping on Nicki's case now was straight up Nicki fans before Nicki got out of jail. Now all of a sudden it's fuck Nicki, she ain't shit. Look, when Jay took that L to Nas, I was fighting tooth and nail, like, nah, fuck that, he didn't lose. I was rocking with who I rock with, and I still will to this day.
Yeah.
But now everybody's just they jump from bandwagon to bandwagon.
Of course they do, but you know what? I just posted about this for the first time yesterday, basically trying to come at Remy fans for, like, you sitting up here saying Remy's the shit, but nobody bought her album. And then they want to say, oh, well, it's not about numbers. Yes, bitch, it is about numbers, because if you are a damn fan, you're going to buy her damn music. You didn't buy her music, but you want to jump on her bandwagon precisely because you don't like Nicki Minaj, because nobody likes number one, and nobody likes the person who's on number one. People come for Beyonce, they come for Jay-Z, they come for Nicki Minaj, they come for Rihanna, because nobody wants to say the top bitch is number one. Do not come for my queens, don't come for my queens, don't come for my queens, because I will destroy you, because they're number one for a reason, and Remy Ma's never going to do that.
People will always root for the underdog until they start to win for too long. It's the same thing that happened to 50 Cent. We've seen it happen to hip-hop for years.
Yeah, people are the underdog sometimes for a reason. Like, a lot of people don't want to give Nicki her props because she went pop. Well, guess what? She don't want to perform in your basement.
That's like you
know what I'm saying?
That's like you telling somebody who grew up in a Patterson-type urban environment and worked their ass off and struggled to make it out, and you calling them a sellout because they want to live in a suburban environment. Don't nobody want to go back to that. People want to drag people down. Like, it's this crab in a bucket mentality that we have in our society, and I don't subscribe to it.
I say sell out as early and as quick as you can. Get your motherfucking coins. Everybody deserves to make money and live a nice lifestyle, especially if you're good at what you do. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear this, oh, sell out this, sell. No, nobody ain't selling out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, look, this is life. We got bills to pay.
As long as I'm not losing sleep over my decisions, I don't really care what anybody else has to say about it.
It's about integrity. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody's going to offer you, listen, if the KKK offered me an endorsement deal, obviously I'm not going to take it. But shit, if Pepsi came for me, yes, I'm taking it. You know what I mean? Like, it is about integrity, you know what I mean? And as long as you stick to your guns and do what you do, you have the right to earn your coins. And I'm sorry, Nicki Minaj already won before this was even a battle. You know what I mean? Like, she's unbothered.
Pretty much. In the same way y'all held Nicki to the task of responding to what Remy said, well, then I'm going to ask y'all to hold Remy to the same task, because Nicki challenged her to make a hit within 72 hours. It ain't going to happen.
No.
Now go tell her she ain't hip-hop because she ain't respond.
Remy didn't make a hit. Nas made a hit, and she piggybacked off of it.
And you know
That's
what,
basically what happened.
I'm convinced that the people who think that track was so hard I could tell I'm from the cassette and CD days. I still say track. The reason why people think it was so hard is because they were jaded by the fact that it was a Nas beat, and Ether is now a verb because of what Nas did on that song.
Mm-hmm.
So now because you hear somebody on that beat and they're calling it the same thing, automatically in your head you're going to think it's hotter than what it is because it wasn't really that dope to me.
These children never even heard Ether. I guarantee you that the ones who are really coming for who are supporting Remy Ma on this, they never even heard Ether. They don't even understand, like...
That's probably accurate.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. Children, like, read a book.
Anyway.
All right, man. So that's our time. This is the show. I was ratchet as fuck through this whole episode, as usual.
It's a little bit more lively than usual.
You know what it is? I freaking slept.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like we said before, let us know what y'all think. Check us out on social media. Just because the episode ends doesn't mean the discussion has to end. We're definitely here and open to go back and forth. And I can't wait to see what our next comment's going to be. And until then, we'll see y'all in the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other. Ty, you got anything else to say before we close out?
No, just God bless. Live your life. Let's keep it going, man.
All right. See y'all in the next one. Peace and love.
Peace.
Hey, we want to thank everybody again for listening to today's episode. For all future episode notifications when they drop, make sure y'all subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And as always, be sure y'all like, comment, and definitely subscribe. Y'all can also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Straight Talk 315. For any show inquiries, topics for new shows, or even a request to be a guest host on an episode in the future, hit us up at straighttalk315@gmail.com. Peace and love.